Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at MongoDB in Python. So why would you use MongoDB? Well, it stores data in JSON-like documents as opposed to structured rows and columns like most databases. That makes it flexible and scalable, and it is a separate service to Python. It's also a NoSQL database, which means that you don't have to write SQL to store and access files. To use PyMongo, you need to use Python driver, and so you need to install that, and then you can install MongoDB with pip. So here I can type in pip install PyMongo, which is the name of the pip module, and you can see I've already installed it. So now that we've started, I'm going to import PyMongo, requests, and JSON, because these are the three modules we're going to be using. So the first thing is we want to create a client, and that's a pymongo.mongo client, and we need to put the URL in. And you can see it's asking for a host, and that's MongoDB, and we're doing localhost because I'm connecting to my local database, and the port is 27017. And so we need to create a database, so we'll say that our database is client, and we're going to call it Noble. We're going to be looking at Nobel Prize winners, and we will print a list of database names. So we get client.list database names, and then we can run this. However, you can see currently we've got three databases, and one of them is not called Noble, and that's because databases don't create until you put data in them. So let's get some data. And so we're going to go to this URL. You can see it's an API that we're going to call with requests. I'm going to call that file, and our data is json.loads, the file.text. So just taking the text out of this request and saving it in a dictionary so we can print data. And you'll see there's a lot of data. So now we want to insert this into our database. So we can just say our column, so in MongoDB you have columns, and these represent tables really in other databases. I'm going to call this prizes, so this is Nobel prizes. And the reason is if we print the data again, this time we'll print data prizes, you'll see that that's the main bulk of the data, and that's a list. So what we can do is we can say for the prize in data prizes, so we're looping through each of these prizes in the list, we can column.insert one, the prize. So we can just put the prize, which you can see is a dictionary, into our table. And you can see that has all worked, although you can't really see it. So instead what we could say is, if we're going to loop through the data, we can say for x in column.find, which gets all the data, just print x, and you can see all the data in the database. We're going to take this out so that it doesn't put the data in a second time. And there you can see we've got all the data. However, a nice thing to do instead would be delete the column, and then we're going to insert many instead of just one. And we can just insert data prizes, and easily it will just put the whole thing into the database. And you can see that our table has also appeared. And we could run this again and see all the data. However, maybe we don't want to see all this data, so this ID isn't very useful. And maybe we don't need to know all of these details, just their name and surname. So what we can do is we can make our find query more specific. So this means there are no limitations on what we're finding, so look for everything. And then we want to find the year, so put that in, the subject, so what they want it for, the laureates, and you'll notice the laureate is made up of different attributes. So we just want to know their first name and their surname. And you can also specify 0, so we can say for the ID, we don't want that, so put a 0 in. And you can see everything's been filtered. And the reason that the subject is not printing is because it's called the category. There we can see category is working. And then we want to search for some specific piece of data. Well, what we can do instead is we can put a filter in here. So why don't we start with the year? So we'll say we want to find something where the year, and we're going to say the year needs to be greater than 2000. And if we put that, you see that it's returned nothing. And that's because here the year is actually a string. So if we want to compare it to 2000, because everything's 2 digits, we can just make it a string. And you can see we get all the years greater than 2000. We could also say that, for example, we want the category to be physics. So we put that filter in there as well. And so we've got all the Nobel Prize winners from 2000 onwards who won it for physics. And you can see it's put that there. But maybe instead of just trying to find the ones each time that are more than 2000, we want to delete the ones that are less than 2000. So instead, what we can do is we can say we use the delete many, because we could continuously delete one. I can just say the year is less than 2000. And so now we take this in, take this out, but still just look for physics ones. We get all the laureates who won it for physics. So this line is now not going to do anything. So maybe we want to actually sort them. So because the years are going from newest to oldest, maybe we want to go from oldest to newest. So what we can do is we can then sort it here on the year. And if we put 1, that means it's going from smallest to largest. And if we put -1, it's going from largest to smallest. And you can see now we've managed to print them out all the way up until the 2020 Nobel Prize winner for physics. So you can see MongoDB is a really powerful tool, a completely new way of databases compared to old, restricted formats, but really powerful. And so hopefully you've enjoyed this video, you've learnt a new skill, and I'll see you again, same time next week.